What's going on YouTube? So the Chevy Equinox has long been Chevy's second best-selling vehicle, and it's long been one of the most popular alternatives to the big three Japanese competitors. For the 2022 model year, Chevy has refreshed the looks of the Equinox to fight for the top spot in what has become one of the most competitive segments in the auto industry. There are some new tech features and interior styles to explore, as well as a new RS model. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in and see what has changed for Chevy's hottest crossover. Alright, so the first place to start is the place where the changes are the most obvious, and that's going to be the front end design. So Chevy has basically revised this grille. If you remember our previous review of the Chevy Traverse, I see a lot of similarities here with this new fascia. So in terms of the shape, we do have this double chrome that goes across it and kind of trims around it. Obviously, each trim level Chevy has taken extra effort this year to give their own personalities, and that includes the brand new RS trim level. That one is designed to look the sportiest, and that would replace this entire grille with a sporty black mesh. And then if you go for the high-end Premier, that's going to look more upscale because it's going to include more chrome bars. The other big change is going to be our headlights. So we have a full LED headlight on the LT trim level and above. As you can see, this has a design that looks kind of borrowed from the Blazer. Two-part design, LED daytime running light at the top, reflector LED headlights for both low and high beams down here in this area. And then you also have the separated turn signal down here at the bottom. On this trim level, it's going to be incandescent. Furthermore, RS and Premier trim levels would throw in LED fog lamps. All right, so next up, let's go ahead and talk about our wheel options. So as you can probably tell by the design of these are your standard 17-inch alloy wheels. Nothing much going on, just kind of a basic silver finish, but Chevy does allow you to have a lot of different versions of wheels, not just for different trim levels, but even for the LT, which has 18 and 19-inch alloys available optionally. The RS comes with the biggest wheel. That's going to have a standard 19-inch alloy, and then your Premier will have a standard 18-inch contrast alloy. Continue to find Equinox branding here on the door. And then in terms of your mirrors, there are going to be body colors starting on the LT trim level. They're heated across all of the models, and blind spot monitoring, that is going to be included on the RS and Premier. It is available in a confidence package for the LS and the LT.
So let's talk about the length of the 22 Chevy Equinox. We're looking at 183.1 inches in overall length for this model, which of course does place it right in line with most of its competitive set. Now, as far as just a few things here on the side, we do have chrome window trim on the bottom of the window for this model. Of course, we are missing out on the roof rails. Those are available if you go for a higher end model. Now, let's talk about the rear design for the refreshed Equinox. Now, this actually does change a little bit for this year because they have thrown in a few new design elements, which I think does freshen it up a little bit. Now, as far as just breaking down some features, we do have an exposed rear wiper down here. I wish they would have hit it up in the top, but we do have our Chevy badge, and then coming to our taillights, this is where you're going to notice these are new taillights for the 2022 refresh. So on this model, they are going to be fully incandescent, but I do like how just the design in general. We do have an incandescent turn signal, brake light, as well as reverse light. However, if you go for the RS or Premier model, that will give you LED components back here. Now, if we drop down to the lower area, you will notice we don't have any exposed exhaust outlets, and all of this area is going to be finished in a matte black plastic. We do have chrome accenting, which I think is nice. All of the models are going to have a 1,500-pound tow rating if you get the optional towing accessories. All right, now this is a family vehicle, so Chevy knows that, and they have thrown in quite a few of your safety systems as standard equipment. So you have 3 out of 4 of them on all the models. So that's going to be forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, auto high beams, as well as lane keeping assist. Now, the adaptive cruise control system is going to be optional on the LT trims and higher. So if you want that feature, you will have to option that on. Now, as far as your warranty information, you are going to have a 3-year, 36,000 mile basic warranty, 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain warranty. So that's pretty basic for the segment. You also get your first complimentary maintenance visit. Well guys, Chevy has done quite a bit on the outside to freshen up this Equinox and make it look more modern and compare better to its rivals. But now let's go ahead and check out that interior before we take it out in a spin.
So walking up to our Equinox, every single version will come with the intelligent entry system, and optional on the LT is a remote start system, standard on the Premier, of course. And then to open it up, just press the button. And let's go ahead and hop inside. So as you can tell, the main part of the cabin design has not changed as much as the exterior. But let's go ahead and talk about interior material and color choices. So as far as your seats, you're going to have cloth seats on your LS, LT, and RS trim levels. Of course, this being the LT, we do have the cloth seats. We have the gray color on this example, which I think looks pretty nice. As you can see, we have the black on the outside edges, the gray in the middle, a nice texture. I really actually like the way this looks, and you do have the contrasting gray elements on the door trim and the dashboard as well. If you want leather, you're going to go up to the Premier trim level, and that can come in your choice of black or a special black and brown color scheme. As far as the seats, they're going to be 8-way power adjusting on all but the base model. And then taking a look at some of the interior materials. Like I was saying, we do have the contrasting gray leather that goes all across the armrest area. As far as your windows, they're going to be one-touch auto up and down for the driver only, auto down for the other 3, and you can get memory seats on the Premier trim level. This part of the door trim is going to be hard touch, and as we move on, all of the upper dash is also going to be hard touch. However, as we move down to the middle, we have the leatherette trim that comes around. It kind of bends around through there, and then your lower areas are also going to be hard touch. Now start it up, put your foot on the brake, and press the standard button. Now as we check out the gauges, this is the same arrangement we've seen on the Equinox for a few years now. You do have the 4.2-inch multi-function display right there in the middle, and this is going to be included on all but the the base LS trim level. Now pulling back to the steering wheel, this also is the same from the outgoing Equinox. On this specific example, we do have the urethane steering wheel. You do get the leather wrap steering wheel on the RS and above, and you can get it optional on the LT. I will say, however, one of the interesting things is they actually have a perforated design in the hard touch urethane, so it looks leather wrapped even if it doesn't feel that way. As far as the wheel itself, it is going to be manual tilt and telescoping, and heating is included on the Premier trim level. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out the interior storage of this family crossover. Underneath our center console, very nice. This continues to have a very large center console. We do have a removable storage tray right there and a ton of space inside that is illuminated and has a lining at the bottom. Alright, here goes all of our thick coupons. Check that out. Definitely one of the best in the class, because I believe I could fit 2 stacks on top of each other, so that's very impressive. Up in front of that, you got a little storage area right there. You got a couple different cup holders. And then we do have a large storage area up in the front. This would include a wireless phone charging pad on the Premier. We have a USB Type-C, a USB-A, aux jack, and 12-volt out. Now pulling back here to the shifter, this is just a traditional style. Obviously you can pull back for drive, you can go back further for low. You have little toggles on the side here for manual shifting, but you do not have power shifters. And then as we head into reverse, this is what your standard backup camera looks like. We do have active trajectory. You'll get parking sensors if you get up to the RS trim level. And then Chevy does make available a 360-degree camera system. That's going to be optional on the LT through the Premier trim levels. And then back behind the shifter, you do have your electronic parking brake. Continuing up the dashboard, this is a manual climate control setup. It comes standard on LS and LT trim levels. The rest of the trims come with a dual zone automatic climate control setup, and you can additionally option that on to this LT trim level if you prefer. Of course, you don't really need me to explain this. You have your fan speeds, you have really large zones right there. Additionally, in this area, you would find heated seats starting again on your RS trim level, optional on the LT, and then ventilated seats are available as an option on the top end Premier. All right, now that takes us to our volume knob, so it's time to give the standard 6-speaker sound system a sample. Yeah, so overall sound quality of this system is pretty nice for this, type of vehicle. Of course, you can also get the Bose 7-speaker premium sound system as an option on the RS and Premier if you really enjoy having a top-notch audio experience. Okay, so let's take a look here at our Chevy Infotainment 3 system. So this is where some of our bigger changes are concentrated for this refreshed Equinox. So what you're looking at right now is a 7-inch touchscreen. This is standard on the LS, LT, and RS trim levels. And then the 8-inch touchscreen is going to be standard on the Premier, as well as available as an option on the LT and the RS trim levels. The important functionality updates though. So right now we are in the Android Auto interface, and this is running wirelessly. So even though we have the smaller display and a very affordable trim level of this vehicle, we do have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. That's included across all the trim levels. So I do like that new addition for 2022. Rising on up, we have the manual dimming mirror. Auto dimming is included with the Premier trim level. Full LED lighting on the inside. I have a nice sunglass holder as well. And as you expect for this reasonably priced model, we don't have the panoramic sunroof, but it is available on the LT trim level as well as the RS and Premier trim levels as well.
All right, guys, so here we are in the Equinox's rear area. This is, of course, is a compact SUV. So this is a family-focused product. You're gonna have probably kids in the back area, so this is really important. And Chevy has actually given you a lot of space and some features to go along with it, even though this is one of the more basic trim levels of the Equinox. We'll start out with the space first. We're looking at 39.9 inches of rear legroom, which is a really good figure for the segment. That puts it at the top end. It's above something like a Toyota RAV4, a little bit less than CR-V, but it's definitely competitive with the segment. 38.5 inches of headroom, and that is the figure without the moonroof. But honestly, it feels like even more than that. There's a lot of headroom back here. Now, if you're curious about my height, I'm 5'9", Drew's 5'8", and this is the seating position for that. Now, as far as the features, let's turn our attention towards that. We do have these nice vents. I'm kind of surprised to see that on one of these lower end models. A lot of the competitors will cheap out on that if you go for a more basic one. If we drop down, we do have 2 charging USB ports. These are the regular Type A, but charging variety. Then if we fold down the center armrest, you do have cup holders inside, although it is a little bit high. I also want to point out, if you go for a higher end model, you can get heated rear seats. Obviously, that's not going to be on this particular tester. Now, coming up to our tailgate, this particular tester does not have the optional power one that you can get on the LT. So it's just a manual opening one. You just push the button and lift up. If you go for the higher end models, of course, you can have a standard power one. And if you go for the top end Premier, you will have a standard power one with foot activation. Now, let's talk about the space for the Equinox. Like I said, this is a family vehicle, so you're probably gonna be taking this on, family road trips, so that's an important part. We're looking at 29.9 cubic feet of cargo capacity behind the second row seats. That expands all the way up to 63.9 cubic feet if you fold the seats down. The levers to fold the seats are right here on this side, so if you come with me over here, As you can see, they do fold 60-40 split, and that actually does give you a flat loading floor. So there's going to be plenty of space for all your needs back here. And as far as some of the finishing Chevy has thrown in, we do have this little tab here to pull up on the cargo floor. And as you can see, we do actually have quite a bit of additional space down here. And then underneath of this, you're going to have your spare tire. A power passenger seat is available on this model. This one's just a manual one. And then if we pop open the glove box here, this is a good sized glove box. As you can see, we have our coupons jammed in there, and really there's a lot of space to spare. So you can just throw them in, save money feeding your kids. And then up top, we do have a sun visor. We're gonna have some nice, gently fading in LED illumination. That's a odd premium element I wouldn't have expected to see. We also have a good sized mirror, and we can also detach as well as extend the visor out.
And there is 60 with the refreshed 2022 Chevy Equinox. So just like with last year, you're going to have the same powertrain carryover. It's going to be a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, making 170 horsepower, 203 pound-feet of torque. Those are pretty competitive numbers, a little lower than some of the competition. Like I believe the RAV4 is 203 horsepower.
Yeah.
So a little less than something like that, but most of the rivals are in like 180s.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to point out, just sitting here from the passenger seat, is that during that acceleration, this 1.5 liter turbo, it did seem very refined, and the over 200 pound-feet of torque really did push me back in my seat a little bit, so that makes up for the little bit lower horsepower figure than some of the other options in the segment.
Right, and it was very, very quiet as well. Another aspect I think that makes this feel pretty responsive behind the wheel is the fact that we have a traditional automatic. We've got a 6-speed automatic on board, and while 6 speeds is a little bit lower than the 8-speed that's in like a RAV4, for example, the vast majority of the competitions actually has a continuously variable transmission, and in this case I would definitely prefer having the 6-speed automatic over the continuously variable transmission, because it just gives you more responsiveness, more feedback. You don't have to listen to any types of droning or wait for the power to kind of slowly build. This is definitely nice and responsive in terms of your shifting, and nice and smooth as well.
Yeah. And another aspect where it is smooth is your ride quality. Let's talk about that. This, of course, as I've mentioned actually multiple times at this point in the video, is a family focused vehicle. It is, this has become the new family segment of choice, is this compact crossover segment, and it does have a really good ride quality. I'm noticing we're on a really rough road here, and it does soak up the bumps really well. We will get a sound level reading throughout this test drive as well. It does seem a little bit louder in here than some of the competition. I don't know if that's because this is one of the lower end trims of the Equinox, but we will test that out once we get up to speed a little bit later in this drive. Now, another thing I want to point out is your drivetrains for the Equinox. Of course, you're going to have standard front-wheel drive, optional all-wheel drive. This particular tester does have the all-wheel drive system, and since we do only have that engine, we do have the 2 fuel economies. We're looking at 28 miles a gallon combined for front-wheel drive, 27 miles a gallon combined for all-wheel drive. It does use regular fuel, as you would expect.
And in case you were wondering, we didn't specifically point this out, but the 2-liter turbo and the diesel offerings that used to be offered, those have been eliminated in a previous model year. I believe it was last year, and you continue to not have any additional engine options for 2022.
All right, let's get our sound level reading here. looking at 58.1 decibels. That's a solid reading, especially for as rough a road as we're on. I mean, this pavement is pretty darn rough and loud itself, but that is a good reading. I think that puts it pretty much class competitive, although I do hear a little bit more road noise than I do typically in this segment. And since we are in Kentucky, let's do one of our Car Confection signature things. Let's talk about the Airball and Slam Dunk. So, for today, what we want to slam dunk is the front end design. You know, for the refresh, I think they focus most of their attention on the front end, and I do think it looks a lot better. I love the new headlight design, and I think it just really puts it in line with the modern Chevy products.
And I'll go ahead and talk about the Airball now. For this, we're going to say kind of the interior finishes and stuff. They really could have done more work with this refresh like they did with the exterior. They could have made this a little more upscale, enhanced a few elements. So we would have liked to see a few upgrades on that regard.
Yeah. All right, but let's go ahead and talk about the pricing for the 22 Equinox. Now, of course, they have rose the price just a little bit for this refresh model, but not by a ton, so we're still starting out at $25,800 for LS. LT will be $26,900, then you go up to the Premier, it's $31,000. The max price on all the models is going to be a little over $38,000.
But overall, we think Chevy did a pretty good job with the upgrades that they've made for 2022, and it remains a pretty good alternative to those status quo crossovers if you're looking for something a little different.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the 2022 Chevy Equinox. This is one of the more basic LT trims. Now, of course, we will hopefully be getting a higher-end Equinox to sample out later, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and you'll be notified when we post that video, as well as other automotive content for this segment of vehicles, as well as expensive vehicles and even cheaper vehicles. So please hit that subscribe button down below. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram. They will have our latest content on there. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.